let's start with Shane. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, Shane.
Thanks, Michael. Good to see you.
My pleasure. All right, Shane, you're going to be here on Tuesdays. Cover the healthcare. Jump in as we go forward. But I wanted to give you the floor here because you brought some really interesting content to the table today. So please let us know what's on your mind.
Yeah, so I think that this weekend I'm always reading and I got a new book. It's by Dr. Reardon. He's here in Dallas, and it's Stem Cell Therapy: A Rising Tide: How Stem Cells Are Disrupting Medicine. And it really challenges the way we think about healthcare and how we're actually treating patients, how we're looking at the wellness of what we're doing on a day in and day out basis. And it's really interesting because he's got all of this literature that shows the positive results for his mesenchymal stem cell work, and he's stuck in Panama. Panama is the only country in the world right now that's allowing him to
Why?
Actually, well,
that's weird. Why?
So the FDA is still out on stem cells, and so they want the studies. The studies they look at it as a drug, and so you're looking at billions of dollars to get a drug approved through the FDA right now. And
right.
So he decided to pack up and go down to Panama and open up his stem cell institute. In Panama, they allow you to take human umbilical cord tissue, not cord blood, but cord tissue. And he separates the tissue for the cells, and they're called MSC cells, mesenchymal stem cells. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. But what's interesting is he's been able to identify through protein markers these golden cells, and the golden cells actually, when injected into the body through IV therapy, they actually go to the inflamed areas of the body, and they secrete factors that they help the nervous system. They'll help inflammation in your heart. He's got studies that show that it'll lower your cholesterol, and really what it does, what's interesting about it is a lot of people will say, well, cord blood, but the challenge with cord blood and stem cells is that wants to be a human, but the umbilical cord, the MSC cells do not want to be a human. So they actually go out and they're actually just trying to repair, and so they act almost like a 16-year-old boy would act, right? Their cells actually double every 24 hours. And so that's why as a young child, you look young, you look healthy, and then as we get older, that time frame to double in cells gets a little bit longer at 60 hours. So you go from 1 billion cells in a month to 30,000 cells, and that's why that's the aging process.
Right.
So what this does is you're able to treat multiple diagnosis, whether it's cerebral palsy, heart failure, rheumatoid arthritis, spinal cord injuries, autoimmune diseases, with this treatment. And it's something that is happening today. And if you have MS today, you're paying $100,000 a year for your medication, and you can go to Panama for $25,000 and get this treatment to where you could go into remission to where you're not taking that medication. So I think the implications are very from a business standpoint, mm-hmm. and just a humanity standpoint. It's a really interesting opportunity that he's created for himself down in Panama.
It does sound interesting.
Shane, let's just talk about the elephant in the room here. That elephant obviously is the doctors' lobby, the lobby for the pharmaceutical industry, and so on. And would you argue that it's not necessarily kosher to want to actually get rid of or a particular infirmity in lieu of treating it, because it's a lot more profitable to treat it in lieu of curing it?
Right. Yeah. So if you look at if you look at the statins, for instance, if you can eliminate the statin industry, you're taking out $25 billion industry. So I'm sure that there's a little lobbying going on with the FDA, and I think that Same thing with, you look at net neutrality, right? What happened with recently. So I think that you've got the back channels working, and they're going to keep it in Panama as long as possible, and which also that increases the access or decreases the access. Excuse me.
Well, you mentioned net neutrality in the same dynamic. You're talking about the equivalent of throttling disruptive procedures when it comes to medicine. It seems like is that what you meant? A form of digitally or throttling the actual access to disruptive activity when it comes to medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And what it does is it keeps the layperson from getting the treatment, so it stays with the 1%ers that can afford it.
So, with you being on the insurance side, wouldn't it seem logical that that particular group would be interested in pushing toward therapies that are much more advanced that would actually cost them less money from a claim standpoint?
I think that's a great business. That's kind of what I was looking at it. How I was looking at it was, the self-insured market. You have these large corporations that are actually self-insured. They're not going through a United or an Aetna, and what they're looking at inventive ways to cut costs. And I think that if you have somebody that you're paying $100,000 a year for MS drugs, and their functionality, it's sporadic at best with the disease, and then you can send them down for $25,000. Makes sense to me.
It does to me. I mean, and I don't see why the industry, the investment industry, wouldn't be all over this to catch that niche. They're all about the arbitrage.
We're already seeing that type of arbitrage, and also seeing that investment in disruptive medical technology. There's a ton of money being raised right now for that purpose. I guess kind of a preemptive as far as the private equity thing is concerned, but a ton of money being raised for that purpose. But a lot of that money is being raised outside the United States, where you have a much more friendly environment when it comes to medical disruption and looking at technologies that we think become more cure than treatment.
Yeah. Well, don't you think that's where the medical industry should be headed anyway?
Well, if I can convince you to come back and see me next week for another patient visit that cost me another $500. Guess what? I just made more money for myself. Why would I want to cure you?
Right. Well, that's what the facade is, that we're going to cure you, but instead we're just going to treat you. You're talking to somebody who watched his wife die of cancer, so
it's true.
You don't have to hit me over the head with that one. I mean, I get it. I already have my predisposition here, but anyway, I didn't want to go anywhere else with this, but Shane, we've got about a minute left on this. What's new with Hooray Health? I mean, we're not focusing on that because you're going to talk about all of the the breakthroughs in technology in the health industry, but what's new with your company? What's going on there?
So things are going really well. We're getting ready to add 1,000 new locations. And so we just expanded to 43 states, and so there's more access for our members, and we're working our mobile app right now to better work with the technology. So a lot of great things and exciting things going on right now. So good business is great.
Good. All right. We're going to have to wrap it up, but you're going to come back next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about healthcare, and you're going to lead the charge on that one with us, all right?
All right. Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
All right. Shane Foss, CEO, Hooray Health. We're going to go to a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk to Ed Baxter of Bison Creek Capital for the Private Equity Spotlight.